Bangladesh, a nation known for its vibrant culture and indomitable spirit, finds itself at a crossroads. The country has been plunged into chaos following weeks of massive street protests and a brutal government crackdown. At the heart of this unrest lies the resignation of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, a figure who has dominated Bangladeshi politics for over a decade. Hasina's resignation, while a dramatic turn of events, was not entirely unexpected. For years, accusations of corruption, authoritarianism and electoral manipulation have plagued her government. The once lauded leader, credited with overseeing a period of economic growth, had increasingly alienated large segments of the population. The final straw came amidst a wave of student-led demonstrations that engulfed the capital, Dhaka, and other major cities. These protests, initially sparked by concerns over road safety, quickly morphed into a wider expression of discontent against the ruling Awami League party. The government's heavy-handed response, including the use of live ammunition against unarmed protesters, only served to further inflame the situation, leading to widespread condemnation both domestically and internationally. To understand the current crisis in Bangladesh, one must delve into the deep-seated grievances that have been simmering beneath the surface for years. While Bangladesh has made remarkable strides in poverty reduction and economic development, these gains have been unevenly distributed, leading to a widening gap between the rich and the poor. Corruption, a persistent problem in Bangladesh, has further exacerbated inequality. Ordinary citizens often find themselves at the mercy of a corrupt bureaucracy, forced to pay bribes for even the most basic services. This culture of impunity has eroded public trust in institutions and fueled a sense of anger and frustration among the populace. Adding to the discontent is the government's increasingly authoritarian tendencies. Opposition parties and dissenting voices have faced intimidation, harassment, and even imprisonment. The space for free speech and dissent has shrunk considerably in recent years, creating an atmosphere of fear and self-censorship. The government's attempts to control the media and the internet have further stifled public discourse and exacerbated the sense of discontent. At the forefront of the protests that have shaken Bangladesh are the country's youth. This generation, tech-savvy and politically aware, has grown impatient with the status quo. They yearn for a Bangladesh that is not only economically prosperous, but also just, equitable and democratic. The youth-led protests are a testament to the changing demographics of Bangladesh. With a median age of just 27, the country has a large and burgeoning youth population that is increasingly vocal and engaged in political and social issues. These young people, having witnessed firsthand the limitations of their current system, are demanding a greater say in shaping their future. The protests have also highlighted the power of social media in mobilizing dissent. Platforms like Facebook and Twitter have become vital tools for sharing information, organizing protests, and bypassing traditional media outlets, which are often subject to government censorship. The government's attempts to shut down the internet have only served to further galvanize the protests, demonstrating the limits of censorship in the digital age. The international community has watched the events in Bangladesh with growing concern. The United Nations has called for restraint from all parties and urged the government to engage in dialogue with the protesters. Neighbouring India, with its own history of tumultuous relations with Bangladesh, has expressed its concern over the violence and called for a peaceful resolution to the crisis. The United States, a key development partner and ally of Bangladesh, has also expressed its deep concern over the situation. There have been calls for targeted sanctions against individuals responsible for human rights abuses. The US has also urged the Bangladeshi government to address the underlying causes of the unrest, including corruption and the lack of democratic space. The future of Bangladesh hangs in the balance. The country stands at a critical juncture, and the choices it makes in the coming weeks and months will have far-reaching consequences. The international community has a responsibility to stand with the people of Bangladesh and support their aspirations for a more democratic and just society.